What is up everyone, Movie back again with another end of month vlog. This is just me talking about everything I watched in the month of June 2023. Now, I'd just like to start the video with a little bit of a slight channel update. So, if you just want to get to the movies, maybe fast forward a little bit there. But I just want to say to you all, I'm sorry that I have not uploaded too much content in the last month or two on this channel. I think this is the first time I've done back-to-back videos which are end of month vlogs. I usually throw 2 or 3 videos in between them, but all I've had for the last couple of months is some Blu-ray pickup videos, and this month is the first time I've done back-to-back end of month vlog videos, so I do apologize for that. I've got 2 explanations really. One is that I started my horror channel and I was trying to just start to start that channel there because I want to keep all my horror content in one place. There's so many horror videos and horror content that I want to do, and when I'm doing too much of a variety on this channel, it doesn't seem to mix too well. So I just want to keep all my horror content in one place, and like I said, I'm just trying to start that channel a little bit there. So I have been doing a little bit of content on there. However, I'm not shying away from Movie Worm or anything like that. I do have a few more videos planned for the future on this channel, so don't fret for you enjoy watching my content. I do appreciate it, but I'm not really going anywhere. I've got an Arrow video collection plan, but I'm kind of thinking about doing it with a little bit of a twist where I rank them all from worst to best. I thought that might be a fun video to do. I've got a games I've been playing video coming, and I'm sort of planning on doing a 2023 so far, because in July I do think my top 10 might change a little bit there. Also, we are at the halfway point of the year, aren't we? So look out for them videos on this channel coming soon. I hope that's some content you will enjoy. Also, the other reason is I've been sort of getting the house ready for our baby that's coming. My wife is booked in for a C-section on the 27th of July. So we've got the baby coming, and I've been doing all sorts of this house. Something just clicked in my brain where I wanted to get everything done. I done one thing, and then I just sort of, it had like a snowball effect where I just wanted to get all these other things done in the house, and my house is actually coming together now after me just sitting around for a couple of years there. It's nice to see it come together, and it's kind of addictive. So I'm a changed man when it comes to DIY a little bit there, much to my wife's joy. So they're the 2 reasons really that I haven't been uploading too much content on this channel. And I've also been just trying to figure out where I want to go with the Movie Worm. There's so many people just reviewing the new releases constantly, and I just feel like I'm in a big pool there with lots of other people. So I kind of just want to try and have fun with this channel now and do videos that I enjoy doing. I'm not going to start reviewing every new movie that comes out. There may be 1 or 2 exceptions, but with regards to new movie releases and reviews, they'll probably just be mostly horror ones on the horror channel. So on this channel, you're probably going to get more like top 10s, rankings, and just vlogs like this basically. And Blu-ray pickups will always be here. Also, a 4K collection will be coming soon. So yeah, that's my explanation. I hope that resonates with you all. Hope you can forgive me for not uploading too much on this channel. It is going to be even harder when the second child gets here, but I will make time, don't worry. And if you want to follow my horror channel, that will be in the link down below as well. So thanks so much everyone. Let's just get into the movies and TV shows that I watched in June, what you're all here for. First up is a Stephen King movie, The Boogeyman, and I've done a full review for this on my horror channel. If you would like to check that out, that is in the link down below to that channel. But it's a Stephen King movie. I'm always interested in these films when they come out. I love a lot of his adaptations. Some of them are the greatest films ever made, like The Green Mile and Misery. So I'm always interested in checking the new Stephen King movies out, and I'm also interested in watching older ones that I haven't seen. And this one to me did look like a little bit of a generic horror movie going in. I didn't have too many expectations for it, and it kind of was that. It follows a concept where an entity or this thing is sort of haunting a house. We've seen that so many times done before, And what I will say is this movie is one of the darkest movies I've ever seen. And it does work to its advantage, but other times it doesn't. So, for example, when the horror scenes are playing out, the lighting works very well. The thing that is sort of the focus, this entity, is not really shown very much. And once sometimes that is revealed in horror movies, the fear factor is gone. So I thought the director of this film done really well to do that, the scary scenes, and keep them in the dark, and the lighting worked and all that. I thought he'd done that really well, actually. The two young girls in this movie were really good. You know, I got behind the main actress of this film, but the younger daughter, the younger sister, should I say, she was a really great actress. She put a hell of a performance in for such a young actress. But some of the things their characters done really did grind my gears. Like, this entity, it feeds off darkness, so that's its strength. And when this thing has been traumatizing them through the film, they might sit there and watch TV or play the PlayStation or whatever in pitch black, and it's like there's no reason for that. I mean, if you've been scared to death a few times in the dark, why the hell are you sitting in the dark when you don't have to? So there was some odd choices like that. Overall, I enjoyed it, but it was nothing special. I've seen this movie done 100 times before, sometimes worse, sometimes better. So it was a very generic horror movie, what I went in expecting, and that's what I got. So that is The Boogeyman. Next up, we have Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which is, I think at the moment, the highest rated movie on Letterboxd, or it was at one point. And a lot of people absolutely love this movie. I've just seen 5 stars across the board and stuff. And sorry to be that guy, but I am not on that level with them people. My thoughts are a little bit different there. Now, I did like this movie, don't get me wrong. The animation is incredible. Some of the best animation I've ever seen, like the background effects and stuff, which can play with the characters' emotions and show what they're feeling, is amazing. I hate to think how much work went into just one little camera capture, you know, one little still image, because it is off the charts, the animation in this movie. It's astounding how they put this together. There must have been so much attention to detail, and I respect them so much for that. The characters were interesting. You know, Miles Morales is a great character, and this follows more in the footsteps of the Gwen character. I thought that had a good arc for her from start to finish. But it's a multiverse story, which I'm not too massive on, to be honest. I think this is something that came along, which was cool at first, and now it's like sort of dwindling them for me. I'm just a little bit burnt out on the superhero movies. Just a little bit there. I'm getting to that point now. And even though I always have fun with them, they're not masterpieces or anything like that, in my opinion. Now, I do feel like this has something a little bit different going for it in terms of the way it's animated, the way it deals with characters and stuff. But when I got to the end, I was like, yeah, I mean, I kind of seen this multiverse thing a few times now, and I was just like, meh. Plus, it's the first half of a 2-part story. Okay, it's going to be a trilogy, but this is part 1 of 2 and 3, if you get me. And I don't feel like it was a fully flushed out film. But overall, I did have fun with it. I am definitely going to go back and rewatch the first one and this one before the third one comes out. And maybe I'll appreciate it a lot more there, because I just want to see what everyone else is seeing with this film. But just on this first watch, I just thought it was fine. Nothing more, nothing less. So apologies for that if you love this movie. I know it's a lot of people's favourite film of the year so far, but for me, I'm just not quite there yet. So that is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Next up, we have the Clove Hitch Killer. And when I heard about this concept, I was intrigued from the off. This is basically about a killer going around this town, and he's murdered like 12 or 13 women, but there hasn't been a killing for over 10 years now, and this town is still sort of traumatized by the events, and they want justice, and they just don't know who this killer is. And this young boy goes into his father's shed, and he lifts the floorboard up, and there's some evidence there, and some sort of memorabilia that his father has, from the dead women, which sort of suspects that his father is this Clove Hitch killer from all those years ago. And with the help of a young friend that he has, this young female friend, they sort of look into it and kind of dig deep whether he is the killer or not. And it's a little bit of a crime investigation film with them two trying to find out whether his dad is someone he doesn't think, or a totally different person to what he thought he was, if you like. Very, very interesting concept. I loved how this movie played out. It was slowly paced, but took its time. But I liked watching the build-up towards the third act and the finale. And I definitely recommend it if you like crime thriller films. I'm not going to give the ending away or anything, but this is Netflix original, I believe. And I had a great time with it. You know, it's my type of film. So, yeah, not a bad movie at all. That is The Clove Hitch Killer. Next up, we have a TV show now. I talked about Series 1 and 2 in my May update, and now we are at Season 3 of Happy Valley. Me and my wife absolutely loved this show. My mother-in-law recommended it to us and said you will like it. It's a BBC crime drama, which the BBC kind of does them best, the British ones, don't they? You only have to look at The Fall, which I think was BBC, which is a great 3-part series. And, you know, they churn these out every few months, don't they? And this one follows this policewoman called Catherine, and it's just how she sort of is this policewoman in this little village. And each season has its own little story attached. Like the first one is a kidnapping that goes wrong, kind of like the movie Fargo. The second one is about a police officer, detective, who's killed someone by accident. He's trying to get away with it. And this one sees a neighbour sort of kill this woman. So it does... Sorry, this neighbour kill his neighbour, who's, you know, this woman. And there is sort of a massive backstory that links all three of them. So there's a story at the forefront for each of these seasons, a different story. But there is a big background story involving Catherine that takes place throughout all three of these seasons. So we've sort of got two stories going on, if you like, but one that is consistent throughout all three series, involving this killer who made Catherine's daughter commit suicide, and how she basically has this nemesis of him, and how she deals with everyday life, and how he's traumatized this family, basically. And he is played brilliantly by this actor. I forgot his name, but his name is Tommy Lee Royce in the show, and he's just this sadistic killer, and he's worth watching the show for alone. Series 3 was probably the weakest of the three, but not by much. I mean, it's very, very minimal. You know, you're splitting hairs when you rank these seasons. They're all great. They only have 6 episodes in each one, and I highly recommend it, again, if you like crime dramas. So Happy Valley really ended on a good... Like, even though it was the weakest season, it ended on a high note. It was a great wrap-up for all the characters, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, which I believe is a 2023 series 3. Yeah, it came out at the 1st of January this year, I believe. So, highly recommend that one if you like your crime dramas. That is Happy Valley Season 3. Next up, we have The Black Demon, which was kindly sent to me by Signature Entertainment. Thank you so much, guys. And I reviewed this on the Horror Channel. This, if you think back to the movie The Meg, where we had this giant megalodon shark, this also contained a giant megalodon shark, which is terrorizing this little fishing community in Mexico. And this town is sort of... They believe that this curse has been bestowed upon them because they don't look after the environment and stuff. And this shark is the curse on this town. And this guy has to go and visit this oil rig because he's this oil man, and his family and him end up getting stuck on this oil rig. They can't get off because this megalodon shark is sort of circling the oil rig and sort of giving it a battering, really. So it's a isolation film where they are running out of time to get off this thing because this shark is just basically destroying the thing as they're on it. That is a great concept for a movie. It wasn't executed very well at all. My biggest problem with this movie is the shark that we hardly see. Now, you might be thinking of the movie Jaws there, where we don't see the shark for an entire hour, really, of the movie, and that works. But here they show it quite early on, and we only have like 3 interactions throughout the entire movie with this shark, and the rest of the movie is dialogue heavy about oil rigs, oil men, and how the oil industry works. Just a very boring and dull movie, unfortunately, and you can probably see the poster right now on screen. It looks like a movie that says, come and watch me if you like shark films, but honestly, this film just wasn't good at all. I think the main actor in this film was called Josh Lucas. Oh, sorry if I'm getting that wrong, but he was awful in the movie. He was just someone who gave an over-the-top performance. He's like, yeah, I'm going to get my family off this rig, whatever it takes. Nothing's going to stop me, not even that giant damn shark. And I just couldn't get on board with this guy at all. Rest of the characters weren't great either. So unfortunately, this is one of the worst films I've seen all year. That is The Black Demon. Next up, we have a Blu-ray, and that is Ghost Stories. I picked this very cheap from CEX a while ago, and this is a British horror film, which usually is music to my ears because British and horror go together so well. And it's got Martin Freeman in there, Paul Whitehouse, a great cast. And this basically sees this guy who tries to exploit paranormal goings on, basically. He thinks there's an explanation for every ghost story out there, everyone who's seen a ghost. And this guy says, try and explain these 3 stories. Then he goes and visits each of these people, hears their story out, and it's kind of like an anthology film where they all kind of link up to his life in a way, which I'm not going to give too much away, but yes, there's a reason why these 3 stories link up. And I thought this was going to be really good going off the first story. And then the first story didn't really end too well, and that was the case for all 3 of them. Like, the first one is in this, I think it's like this mental asylum or something. The second one is a killer in the woods type deal. And third one is about a baby that's born, but it's got a sinister edge to it, something like that. It was a bit of a forgetful movie to me, or, you know, I've watched it this month and I can't remember too much about it, but I really didn't like the movie that much. I remember coming out of it going, I thought that was going to be better than what it was. Some cool little horror segments in there, some great acting, especially Paul Whitehouse and Martin Freeman. I thought they were great. But overall, a movie that I'm probably not going to return to. So that is Ghost Stories. Next up, we have the new Ari Aster film, Beau is Afraid. Now, Midsommar and Hereditary are the greatest 2 horror films in the past 10 years, in my opinion. I love both of them. I can't even decide which one I think is better. I just adore both of them films. Ari Aster, for me, is an amazing horror director. I don't quite know if he's going to be good at anything else, though, in future, apart from horror, going by this one, because this is not a horror movie. I thought it was. This is more of a drama, art house, comedic / slight thriller movie. There are a few horror elements in the first act, but overall, this is not a horror film, in my opinion. This follows this guy, played by Joaquin Phoenix, who is just full of anxiety. He's afraid of everything, and we sort of see things from his mind where it is elevated. So basically, he lives in this rough neighborhood, and I think he thinks someone's going to go into his flat if he leaves the door open, but what we see in his mind is hundreds of people run into his flat and just trashing the place, even though it's probably one person who's tried to break in. Things like that, you know, everything is elevated in his head to a bad situation could be the worst situation in the world. And the first act of this movie, I thought it was great. I was thinking, wow, this is going to be right up my street. You know, just one of the strangest things I'd seen, but I was digging it. And I was just like, yeah, this is totally for me. This is going to be one of the best things I've seen all year. And then the second act, it really fell off a cliff. And then in the third act, it fell off that cliff into the water and drowned. Yes, this movie just got progressively worse after that first hour, and I was so disappointed in this movie. I did try to manage my expectations going in, but man, this was just not 3 home runs for Ari Aster, unfortunately. Joaquin Phoenix put an okay performance in. I wouldn't say it's one of the best he's done. It's not on the level of Joker or anything. I know he won an Oscar for that. It's a high bar to set, but I just thought he was fine. overall, this movie just got too weird for me, and in the end I was like, oh, okay, I just want this film to finish now. The third act especially was just too much. It was just too art housey, which I don't mind art house films if they're done right, but this one just felt like it was being so pretentious, and I was just, damn man, I just really wanted so much more from this. But unfortunately, again, one of the worst films I've seen this year. That is Beau is Afraid. Next up, I watched a documentary. I've been getting into my horror documentaries lately. I watched Never Sleep Again, Pennywise, The Story of It. I've just bought the Chucky one, which I haven't watched yet. But this was kindly sent to me again by Signature Entertainment, and that is King on Screen. This is a documentary about Stephen King's movies, and as a Stephen King movie fan, I was definitely going to watch this. You know, even if they didn't send me, I was going to watch it anyway. And unfortunately, this was a little bit of a mishmash. Now, there was some interesting things in here, especially hearing about The Green Mile, The Shining, hearing from Frank Darabont and Mick Garris, is it? Who directed the Shining TV show. And, you know, it was mainly from the directors of his films or TV adaptations. There is no Stephen King getting spoke to here, which was a bit of a bummer, but that guy is super busy writing hundreds and hundreds of amazing stories, so I get it. But we would spend like a minute on one film, then 2 minutes on another, and then we'd spend like 25 minutes on The Green Mile, 25 minutes on The Shining, and then we'd go back to a 2 minute on another film. And then I was just kind of like, this is like a DVD bonus feature mishmash put together. It just felt like there was no end goal. It didn't feel like a true documentary. And sometimes, even when Frank Darabont, for example, was just speaking about The Green Mile, he'd be more talking about Tom Hanks and Michael Clarke Duncan and how they worked so well together on screen. It wasn't exactly all about Stephen King, which was kind of strange to me. So it was a little bit of a mess, but I would recommend it if you do like Stephen King movies, just to see some of the interesting points of view and how people came to direct his movies because they were fans of his book and he was friends with Stephen King, so he said, oh yeah, you can direct a movie. You know, it's weird how massive decisions are made like that in Hollywood. But overall, nowhere near as good as the other horror documentaries I mentioned that I've watched, but it was okay. I think I give this like 6 out of 10. So that is King on Screen. Next up, I watched the second part of the Annabelle trilogy. The first one was the very first film I watched in 2023, and I heard this was so much better than that first film, and in ways it was, but I think I give them the same score on my Letterboxd. However, it doesn't mean I didn't enjoy this, because I did enjoy both. I think this was kind of a prequel where we see the creation of this Annabelle doll by this guy, and he ends up opening an orphanage in his home for this, this young, I think it's a nunnery, and some of the orphans that they've got there. And he has like 9 young girls who stay in the house, and some ghastly goings on occur with the doll that he has created, basically. Interesting little concept. I liked how, the young actresses and stuff sort of tried to figure out what was going on, and there was some older girls who were just calling them daft and stuff, and you get the usual horror stuff in there where characters don't believe the other characters and stuff like that. Some well filmed tense jump scare scenes in this. The main guy who owned the nunnery, I just didn't care for him. He was so miserable in the movie, but overall it is what it is. It was another kind of generic horror movie for me. Still haven't watched the third one yet, but hopefully I'll get to that soon. But yeah, a decent 7 out of 10 horror film. That is Annabelle Creation. Next up, we have Transformers The Last Night. Now, I had only seen the first 4 Transformers films, and there was a new one coming out. And I hadn't seen Transformers The Last Night or Bumblebee. I'll talk about Bumblebee in just a second. But Transformers The Last Night was generally one of the worst films I've ever seen. I was warned going into this movie that I wouldn't like it, especially if I didn't like Age of Extinction. And that's what kind of put me off watching this one back in the day, because I hated Age of Extinction. I didn't mind the first 3. The first one's really good, actually. But man, what the hell was Michael Bay thinking when he made this movie? Now I look at his filmography, the ones I've seen, I used to think he was hit and miss. I think he's definitely more miss than hit. I didn't care for his last movie, Ambulance, either. But man, what what kind of crack was he smoking when he wrote this movie up, that came up with these ideas? Basically, this is following the days of Merlin and King Arthur and stuff, and that's how it's linked to the Transformers. And I was just like, what the hell is this? Mark Wahlberg, I don't like him in Age of Extinction. I don't like him in this one. He's not a very good main lead. I don't mind him as an actor, but he just doesn't fit in these Transformers films for me. It was just a mess of a movie. There's just so many random things going on. It's kind of like they were making the rules up as they went along. There was two redeeming qualities for me in this movie. There was an actress, I forgot her name. I'll just check really quick here because I do have it on my Letterboxd next to me here. Yes, Laura Haddock, who plays Will's girlfriend in The In-Betweeners. She was a positive for the movie. It was nice to see her in something that wasn't too comedic, you know, taking a big role there. Thought she'd done a fine job. And we do have Anthony Hopkins' butler in this movie. I can't remember his name was Jeeves or something. But he was a really funny character. You know, at least he made me laugh as the movie went on. But man, talking about the movie going on, this movie dragged like hell. It just would not end. I just really didn't like it. I give it 1 star on Letterboxd, and the only reason I didn't give it half a star was the 2 reasons I mentioned there. And the other one was that despite me not caring for the action too much, the film looked gorgeous. I don't know if that was just the Blu-ray I was watching it on. I borrowed it off my cousin, hence why I haven't got it in my hand there. But it did look nice. However, this movie was just a mess, and it's up there with it. I can't decide which one I didn't like more out of this and Age of Extinction. It was just a truly horrible movie to sit through. Now it's Transformers: The Last Night. Next up, we have another bad movie. Not on the best run here this month, am I? And this is a 2022 movie, but technically it was released in 2023. So I hate the way movie studios do that. Anyway, this was She Came from the Woods. Again, sent to me by Signature Entertainment. Thank you so much, guys. I reviewed this on my horror channel, and I thought this was going to be right up my street, even if it was poorly made, because it's a slasher movie. It takes place in the 80s, and it's at a summer camp. That is music to my ears. And they managed, like the Black Demon, the way they made a shark movie bad. Here, they made a summer camp slasher bad and boring. I hated the characters in this film. The kills were just not very creative, apart from 1 or 2 little moments that were quite spooky. And the whole story behind it and this curse on the camp was just something that didn't interest me whatsoever. And the big reveal at the end, the makeup design was awful. William Sadler's in this film, and I believe he produced it. He was an okay character, but man, even he couldn't save the quality of this movie. The biggest redeeming factor I had with this film was one character called Dylan, and he was actually one of the funniest characters I've seen in any movie all year. I only kind of liked the film when he was in it, because he was just so funny with all his, you know, the way he was ripping into people and stuff. He was a bully, don't get me wrong, but some of the quotes he come out with, I'd be laughing. The way he was acting around everyone, just being a total arsehole. However, he's not a character I could get behind. I knew he had to die because he was an arsehole, and he's not someone I actually wanted to live, but I just thought he was funny when he was on screen. However, this film was up there with, I think it's in my top 3 worst movies of the year. So that is She Came from the Woods. Next up, I watched on 4K, Bumblebee. Now, I bought an OLED TV this month, a 65-inch. I upgraded from 55 to 65. But this is the first time I've ever owned an OLED TV. And this is the first 4K that I watched on it. And believe it or not, it's still the only 4K I've watched on it. I've watched 4K streamer movies, but not discs. And if this is anything to go by, you can see the difference. Because, man, this movie looked absolutely gorgeous on 4K. I couldn't believe how good it looked. I kept pausing it sometimes just to see the beauty of the scene that was filmed. I'm so happy with the TV. I kind of should have showed it off on the channel, but maybe I will in a future video. But this was a good return to form since Transformers, the last 2 movies. And it's definitely a more simplified version, and I really did prefer that. Following Haley Steinfeld's character, who was kind of down on her luck, her father has passed away. She's struggling with life. She works 2 dead-end jobs, and she runs into Bumblebee, and her life sort of changes. She makes this friend, and things look up for her. And I really got behind her. I felt sorry for her at the start of the movie, and I wanted her to succeed so well. And Bumblebee, sort of driving her on, pushing her, being a more positive, and being a great character within himself as well. Just really, it was a charming movie, if you like, and definitely better to be more simplified down, because that last night was just a total mess, and this is what we needed. I think this is a prequel to all of the movies. But yeah, I did enjoy it. Now, John Cena for me is not the best actor. He's a good actor, but his characters that he plays don't really do too much for me, and this was the case here. I don't think he was a very good villain in this film. I don't really love him in the Fast and Furious movies either. Granted, I haven't seen him in too much more, but from what I've seen, he doesn't do too much for me. But an enjoyable Transformers film, really. So yeah, there was some funny scenes in this as well, where they wanted to get their own back on this horrible girl who's been terrorising Haley Stanfield's character, and they decide to throw some eggs at the car, and Bumblebee throws a few eggs, and they're laughing. The next minute, he just smashes the car up, and they're like, I was laughing my ass off. But yeah, really, really enjoyed this one. Now, before I get on to the next movie, I just got a quick story. Transformers Rise of the Beasts will not be in this video, unfortunately, for no fault of my own, really. Now, I booked it for a Wednesday night, and something come up, and I couldn't make the showing, and it was very late, and my friend said, look, we'll just leave it, okay? It was just a big rush, and I couldn't get to the screening, so I booked it again for the Friday, and I went, and I was like, okay, finally going to watch this movie. 20 minutes in, the movie just went off, and then this guy come in and said, we've tried to fix it, but the projector has melted. So I still haven't seen the movie, unfortunately. There is one more showing on Sunday, and I'm going to try and go, which is a few days away from now. I'm going to try and go to it, but I've just got a feeling I'm going to have to wait for the Blu-ray or 4K. So unfortunately, I will not be speaking about the next Transformers movie in this video, but I do plan to watch it. So look out for it on a future end of month vlog. Sorry about that, guys. Next up, we have an A24 film, It Comes at Night. Now, I bought this knowing hardly anything about it. And when I looked up the reviews on Letterboxd and stuff, there was some praise for this movie. And yeah, I quite enjoyed this one. This is in a post-apocalyptic world where this virus has taken over people and making them crazy. Kind of reminded me of The Last of Us, the world it was set in. And this follows Joel Edgerton and his family, who just live in this secluded house in the forest. And they've got the whole house like set up to, to live in this world. It's virus proof and stuff, and they're very, very careful about what they do. And Joel Edgerton is out on a hunt one day, I think, and this guy comes along and says, I'm just looking for some food for my family and stuff, and they become friends, and he ends up trusting them and lets his family move in with his family because they want to work together to sort of survive in this world. And there's some great acting in this movie, some really good character-driven, characters, sorry, but well-acted characters, if you like, sorry. And I really got into it. I was wondering all the time what was going to happen. Is there going to be a conflict with these two families? And they were interesting characters. You felt like there was something not quite right with one of them. And I'm not going to give anything away for the end, but I do wish the ending was a little bit better. However, I enjoyed this movie. It was something interesting, something different. And yeah, a decent A24 film. That is, It Comes at Night. Next up, I finally watched The Wedding Singer. When I say to people I have never seen this film, they can't believe what they're hearing. And this was on Amazon Prime. Me and my wife just wanted something easy to watch, so we watched it. She had seen it many times before, by the way. But this basically follows Adam Sandler, who is a wedding singer, and his wife leaves him. And he's got to go and sing at this wedding for this other girl, played by Drew Barrymore, who he's got the hots for. And she asks him to help plan the wedding because her fiancé is the biggest arsehole, or one of the biggest arseholes I've ever seen on film. and his name is Glenn. He plays the father in Baby's Day Out, but he is just one of the worst characters ever. You just hate the guy, and obviously you know where the movie goes. Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore start to get a little bit of a romantic, emotional feel with each other there, and you want them to get together, and you really want Drew Barrymore to just break up with this Glenn so much. But yeah, there was good chemistry between them, some really funny moments in this movie, some good side characters around them, like Adam Sandler's friend. I thought he was great. And Drew Barrymore's hair left a lot to be desired. I was like, did she really have that haircut in so many movies? But yeah, a charming comedy, and yeah, a decent Adam Sandler film. I'm a fan of the guy, you know. I think he's great. But yeah, Glenn is definitely up there with Shooter McGavin as the two biggest comedic movie assholes that I've seen. So that is The Wedding Singer. Next up, we have The Flash. I was really looking forward to this film, even though it was another superhero movie that we're kind of getting all the time. But this one had Michael Keaton in, who I grew up watching Batman when I was a kid. You know, that film, the first one especially, was something I just rewatched so many times. I went to cinema to watch it during COVID. It was just a brilliant movie for me growing up, and I still watch it now and again to this day. I absolutely love the first Batman film, and I love Michael Keaton as Batman. So for me, this was the big draw to The Flash. And this was something that I thought was trying something different, and I appreciated for that. But I came out of it feeling kind of like I did with Across the Spider-Verse, where I was just like, yeah, it was a good 7 out of 10, another superhero movie. But it did do some things right and different, and made it stand out a little bit there. Interesting concept with, again, it's the multiverse, but him going from a universe with Ben Affleck's Batman in, and then he's going to one with Michael Keaton's in. That was kind of fun to see. The third act is where the movie kind of fell off a little bit of a cliff for me. Not a cliff, but kind of went downhill. I was really enjoying this movie for the first 2 acts, and then it just became a little bit too much in the third act. There was way too much action just going on, and it was kind of confusing to me, the final act of the film. Like, I was like, what's going on here now? When you mess with time and travel and stuff, it is a hard thing to wrap your head around. But I thought Ezra Miller was really good in the role. He plays 2 Flash characters in this, and you can definitely differentiate between the two. Kind of like Tom Hardy in the movie Legend. You know which one's which by the way he's acting and stuff. I know there's been a lot of controversy around this film. It's been in production hell, and he has not helped the situation whatsoever. But I thought he was good in the film. I kind of wish they give him a bit more of an explanation to what happened with his mother at the end of the movie, but we kind of don't find that out. We do, but there's one big thing that we don't. If you've seen the movie, you might know what I mean. I thought Supergirl, I think it was it Supergirl? She stole the show in the third act, though. She was the best thing about the third act, which I didn't care too much for. And then I was going in to watch this for Michael Keaton and the Flash character. She really was a great character in this movie, and I haven't seen it in anything. So she was a very welcome addition to the film. Yeah, I had a good time with the Flash. It was fine, and I would rewatch it, but nothing that blew me away, unfortunately. But not a bad movie. 7 out of 10. That is the Flash. Next up, we have Raiders of the Lost Ark. Now, I'm just going to move this over here so you can see the movie poster. As you know, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny was coming out. I did not watch it until the other day, so I'll have to speak about that more in my July video, but it was okay. That's all I'll say. However, I wanted to rewatch all the Indiana Jones films, and I started with Raiders of the Lost Ark, naturally. And yeah, I've seen this movie 3 times now, and I'm not the biggest Indiana Jones fan in the world, although I do have a lot of nostalgia for the second movie, which I'll speak about in a minute. But Raiders of the Lost Ark wasn't one that I used to watch constantly. However, upon each rewatch, it does get better for me, and I can see why a lot of people think this is the greatest adventure film of all time. It's got a great paced story, some great sequences in there. You know, this guy who's a bit of a scoundrel, he's not quite the greatest hero. There's a dark edge to him. He, you know, he is fighting up against the Nazis, so naturally you want him to, beat them to this arc, if you like. And yeah, it's just a movie that is full of adventure, full of great characters, and yeah, I had a great time with it. I really liked the snake pit segment where he's scared of snakes and he's got to jump down this pit to retrieve something. I think it's something that shows him where this arc is placed. And yeah, I thought it was a good adventure film, really, really good one. But yeah, solid 8 out of 10 movie. That is Raiders of the Lost Ark. Next up, I went to a screen unseen at the Odeon where you basically go in and you don't know what you're watching. Although Cineworld did give it away, so thank you, Cineworld. Yeah, they said there was an animated movie and it was rated 12A, I think, or a P or something like that. So everyone just went, "Oh yeah, it's Elemental," and that's what it was. I kind of wish I would have went in not knowing, but I don't know why Cineworld feel the need to have a screen unseen and then basically tell you what the movie is. And they've done it with the next one, I believe, but I'm not going to see that. I won't reveal what it is in case you're booked up to see it. But I was happy to go and see that anyway, even though I knew what it was going to be when I got there. And it was Elemental. And I like Disney Pixar. I like Disney movies. However, this was one of the weakest ones I've seen. And I don't know if I was just kind of like the superhero movies where we constantly get it. I don't know if Disney Pixar's novelty is sort of wearing off here, or they just don't know what to do with the future of their movies. I did like Turning Red. I didn't love it. It's not on the same level as Toy Story or The Incredibles or Monsters, Inc. or anything. They had so much charm to them. And this movie does try and do that, but I just wasn't feeling it. And this is basically about a city full of elements where elements can't really mix together. And this fire element falls in love with this water element, and it sort of follows her and how she's going to deal with that and how she's going to sort of befriend this or have this romance with this water element, basically. I just wasn't feeling the location and the whole city that they built there. It just felt ridiculous. And I wasn't too fussed on all the characters either. Now, Disney and Disney Pixar, and not just them, by the way, there's a lot of American movies, especially, like comedies do this a lot, that follow a very similar formula, and I can just predict it, the way it's going to go. So we start off with a character who's at a low point in their life, and then they start to move up a little bit there, and everything's going great, and then they drop to an even lower point than they were before, and then they shoot up to a higher point than they was just previously. It always follows that formula. Around the start of the third act, they start to fall and everything goes wrong for them. And then the third act is all about them shooting back up there. And that's exactly what this film did. I could see it a mile away. So I just think I've seen it all before with Pixar. I really hope they change it up on their next movie. But for me, I didn't love this film. I thought it was just okay. And I know a lot of people have been loving it, but for me, it was nothing special. I just kind of want something that from Pixar again, because they were just in their prime about 10 years ago. But it isn't as good as what it was, in my opinion. But overall, it's not bad. That is Elemental. Next up, we have one of my most anticipated TV shows of the year. This and The Last of Us were the ones I were looking forward to the most, and that is Black Mirror Season 6. I am a massive fan of this show. I've watched them all up until this one, and me and my wife just binged them, really. I think we watched one a night over the course of 6 days, 5 days there. There's 5 episodes, and it was a decent series. Now, we do have some that are weaker than others, obviously. This is always the case with anthology series or movies. The first one, we've seen this girl's life being shown on Netflix. The day she just had, she goes home and watches the day she just had on Netflix, but she's played by Salma Hayek, and it just sort of explores what's going on there, and it kind of a lesson that you should always read the small print. And I like the way Netflix kind of took the piss out of themselves there. And she's watching this on this thing called Streamberry, which is themed exactly like Netflix and stuff. I thought it was quite clever. The second one was about a murder in Scotland, and this guy who's investigating it with a documentary, and he kind of doesn't expect what he finds. It was okay. One of the weaker ones of the season for me. The third one, Beyond the Sea, was definitely the strongest, and one of the strongest Black Mirror episodes overall out of all the seasons. It follows Adam Paul and Josh Hartnett, who are in space, and they've got a mission that's going to last a couple of years, but they're allowed to transport their body down to Earth and live with their families, and they only have to go back to space when they're called upon. It will make more sense as you watch the episode, but I won't say too much. However, things do take a very dark turn, and I thought this was so creepy, and it was like a horror sci-fi episode, really. Next up, we had, I forgot the name of this next one, but it's basically Maisie Day or something. Maisie Day. This follows a group of paparazzi, and they basically harass celebrities and stuff, and they want to figure out what's happened with the celebrity who's kind of gone missing. And this girl follows it and uncovers a secret about this actress. It was the weakest one of the series and one of the weakest episodes overall of Black Mirror. It's the shortest one in this, thankfully. It doesn't quite drag, but I didn't like this episode too much, unfortunately. And then it ended on a high with Demon 79, one of the best ones in this show, I'd say. After Beyond the Sea, this was the best one. And this follows this shy little sales assistant who works at this shoe store, and she picks up this thing that she finds in the basement, like this antique, and releases this demon. And the demon says, you've got to kill one person for the next 3 days, otherwise the world's gonna end. And she don't know if she's going crazy, if it's true. But the guy who played the demon was awesome. He was a great character. I thought he was so funny, but also very, very dark. And basically, he's sort of egging her on to kill these people. So I won't say too much more than that, but yeah, I really enjoyed that episode. So that one and Beyond the Sea were the big standouts, and Jonah's Awful wasn't bad either. Overall, not a bad series. Can't wait for Series 7. I mean, this is something that just go on forever, can't it? And I'll be right up for it. So that is Black Mirror Season 6. Next up, we have Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Now, this is a very unpopular opinion, but this is my favourite Indiana Jones film. When I said I watched Raiders of the Lost Ark 3 times overall in my life, I've watched this one about, I'm not joking, about 40, 50 times. I used to watch it constantly as a kid. It was the only one I owned, so maybe that plays a huge factor, but I've always loved this movie. And again, I watched it and all that nostalgia just come flooding back, and I had a blast with it. This is one of my favourite films of all time. I just love the dark tone. I love the story. I love the non-stop pace of it. Everything you want in an adventure film is here. I love Short Round. I just think he's the best side companion that we've had alongside Henry Jones, who I'll speak about in a minute, in The Last Crusade. Willie Scott is an annoying character. I get it. I get why people hate her. I think I've just become accustomed to her character and kind of like some of the things she does in this movie. I find it quite funny at times, just because I've watched it that many times, and I can kind of just get on board with it. Love the whole cult thing. I love the whole third act with the crocodiles and stuff. I just love this movie, and I could rewatch it again right now. It's one of the most rewatched films I've ever seen. Like I said, 40, 50 times there, and I'm willing to bet if I go to an Indiana Jones film, after watching all 5 of them, I'm still going to go to this one first. Temple of Doom is a great time. I do not get the hate online for it. So, yeah, that is Temple of Doom. And that is my older pick of the month, believe it or not. Next up, I watched Extraction 2. I'd heard so many good things about this. It was better than the first one and stuff. And this was a solid action movie. Chris Hemsworth is a great action star. I'd love to see him do more of these kind of adult, violent orientated action movies, because he just suits the role. He's kick-ass in this movie. Kind of reminded me of the action heroes of the 80s. I'm not saying he's on the level of Arnold or Sylvester Stallone, but I think he could be the modern day action hero. I really do. I mean, I know he's good in the Marvel stuff and stuff as Thor, but I just love him in these type of roles. There is a 21-minute one-take scene in this. When I see these scenes or I hear about them, I kind of look for the cuts, and you can sort of see it a little bit, but that's only if you're looking for it. That's only if you're being an arsehole like me. It is a breathtaking scene and one of the best movie moments of 2023. It goes on for 21 minutes and it contains all kinds of shit. It's a breakout of prison. It's a gunfight. It's a minigun versus helicopter. It's a train, a train chase. It's action-packed, and it does look like one shot, unless you're looking for it. But yeah, I really did enjoy this movie. However, I don't know if I enjoyed it as much as Extraction 1. Now, overall, it might be a better movie, but I just didn't see that coming with Extraction 1. I was so surprised at how good that film was for a Netflix original. So it just didn't have quite the same impact here, if you like. But it was still a good film. I still enjoyed it. And I do recommend it if you like the first one. So that is Extraction 2. Next up, we do have No Hard Feelings. And this is going to be my new release of the month. I really did fancy this. It was a comedy movie that, you know, like a sex rom-com, if you like, a raunchy comedy. And I hadn't seen one of them in a while, and I thought, yeah, I can't wait to go and see this. And it's got Jennifer Lawrence in, who is eye candy for the boys, I suppose. And she is paid by this rich couple to sort of hang around with their son and sort of get him laid, basically, because he never comes out of his room, he's got no friends, and he's going to college, and they want him to sort of be a bit more sociable and stuff. And that might seem creepy to a lot of people. I suppose it is. But that's what comedy is kind of all about. I mean, look at American Pie. American Pie 2. That's what raunchy comedies do, I suppose. And you know what? This is one of the funniest films I've seen in a while. Alongside Champions, this is my favourite comedy I've seen in years. I was laughing so hard in the cinema at this, and some of the things that go on. The whole cinema was laughing their ass off. It was great to be in that cinema room, you know, just sharing this fun experience with everyone. Can't wait to watch this with my wife when it comes out on Blu-ray and stuff, because I went on my own to watch this. And Jennifer Lawrence really jumped into the role. I thought she was great in this film. You know, she really, you could tell she was really pouring her heart into it. And I would love to see her do more of this stuff. I haven't seen her in nothing for a while, but she was fantastic in this. So yeah, really, really fun movie. I definitely recommend it if you like your comedic films and want a bit of a laugh and something very easy to watch. And it's in my top 10 of the year so far, so that is No Hard Feelings. Next up, we have Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. A film, again, like Raiders, I think I've only seen about 3 times now. Temple of Doom is my go-to Indiana Jones movie. So I'm not massive on Indiana Jones, apart from the second film. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I think I enjoyed it a little bit more than Raiders. Mainly due to the character of Indiana Jones's father, Henry, played by Sean Connery. Thought them two were great on screen together. There was some really funny stuff that they came out with. And I remember they were sort of thinking how to get out of this room, and Sean Connery went, I just sit down and have a little think. And then he pushes this lever. And he doesn't mean to. And he goes, oh, the opportunity presents itself. I was laughing my ass off at that. Really good story attached to this one, where they're going. I think this is the best item that they go and try and find. I think it's like the chalice that Jesus drank out of for when he done the Last Supper. But the whole third act where they have to go and get it and go through all these danger zones. Thought that was really well done. But he's up against the Nazis. Fun little scene where he bumps into Adolf Hitler in this one. But yeah, it was definitely felt a bit more family friendly. This, a bit more blowed up into a bigger blockbuster scale, if you like. Thought it had a really good opening, possibly the best opening of these Indiana Jones films. I know Raiders is profound to be the best, but I really enjoyed the young Indiana Jones on the train, played by River Phoenix, and how he became sort of who he is today, where the guy puts the hat on him and stuff, and you can tell there's a little bit of respect from that guy. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a good movie, really good adventure film. That is Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Now, I did watch Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull the day before Dial of Destiny, but that wasn't until July, so I will talk about them next month. Sorry about that, guys. Next up, we have Wes Anderson's Asteroid City. I, unfortunately, just do not see the thing with Wes Anderson. I think I'm just going to have to admit it to myself now that this guy is just not for me. I watched the Grand Budapest Hotel and really enjoyed it. Then I watched the Fantastic Mr. Fox, is it? Thought it was okay. Then I watched the French Dispatch. Really, really didn't like it. It bored me to tears. And then I watched this, which I think was on par with the French Dispatch. It just bored me. And I just don't get it. I don't get it. Now, Sorry if that offends Wes Anderson fans and stuff. If you like Wes Anderson, that is fine. It hasn't put me off watching some of his older stuff. I've heard Moonrise Kingdom is really good, but I'm not going to be rushing out to see his next film, put it that way. There were some good characters in here. Scarlett Johansson was excellent. Good to see Tom Hanks in there. Some charming dialogue at times. I respect the way he directs things and the angles he comes from and where he points the camera. I respect that. I like the way, I respect his quirkiness and stuff. But I just couldn't get on board with this story at all. I just didn't get it. I didn't get it, unfortunately. And it was one of my least favourite movies of the year. And I've even heard Wes Anderson fans, like my friend Sam, if you're watching, Sam, I know you usually comment on these videos, mate. I know you're a Wes Anderson fan, but even he said he didn't like this movie. So maybe I just need to view his more older stuff. But that is Asteroid City. Bit of a disappointment, that one. And last up, guys, we do have another Blu-ray, and that is Insidious The Last Key. Now, I am going to see Insidious The Red Door this weekend. So this was the only one I hadn't seen. I really like the first Insidious film. I don't care for the second. The third one is a very underrated horror, in my opinion. So I went into this one with mixed expectations, and I thought it started off really well, going into a prequel territory with Lynn Shay's character when she was a child, the house she lived in, how she's got these abilities and stuff. And just her backstory was something I really enjoyed, how she struggled with her abusive father and how she kind of left her brother there. That was just so interesting to me. And then she has to go and visit this house that she lived in later on in the movie because this guy is just getting taunted by demonic stuff. Yeah, I enjoyed this. It was a good movie until the final 20 minutes. I thought it went a little bit silly there. Some stupid reasoning for what she was seeing when she was a kid. And it just kind of fell into that generic horror movie tropes again. But I didn't mind it. I'm still looking forward to The Red Door because that's going to be Patrick Wilson, is it? I think it's his directional debut, so I'm hoping it's good for him. But overall, this isn't bad. It's not as good as 1 and 3, though. On par with the second. So that is Insidious The Last Key. Okay, guys, hope you all enjoyed this end of month vlog. Bit of a long one that I watched quite a bit this month compared to usual. What did you think of these movies? Did you enjoy this video? Please let me know in the comments down below, and I'll try and get back to you all, I promise. And I will try and get some future content done on this channel soon. So thanks so much, everyone. Thank you for sticking by me. If this is your type of thing, please give this video a like and subscribe to this channel. It really helped me out. Take it all easy. I'll see you all on the next video.